Oh, the lads are here already. Good evening. Welcome to. You can see clearly. Sorry, this is off kilter here. We've got a new producer. We'll start from the top. Welcome to round 2 of URC Unloaded. As you can already see, this week we have been joined by 2 players. Normally we have coaches, lads. So this week we've got 2 Edinburgh players, Pierre Schoeman and man of the moment, Darcy Graham. Lads, how are you? How's South Africa?
Been good. Pretty tough training wise. Not had much downtime, but it's been fun.
Scooey, before we move on, Scooey, I heard are you arranging the boat trip this year, the deep sea fishing trip?
John, what happened was last time we were in South Africa, due to weather reasons, the shark dive was cancelled, and they keep mocking me in the squad, saying they need their money back for the shark drive. So to answer your question,
Scoomy got the boys up at 5 a.m. after a few beers to go deep sea fishing for a 3-hour drive. Got there, it was shut. 3 hours back. Thanks for the day off, Scooey.
Where was that? Is that in Cape Town? We went to one in Cape Town. It was like called Shark Alley. It was horrible.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, the South African orcas, so killer whales, they're killing all the great whites. Genuine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the great whites they're nowhere to be found at this moment. They're like hiding.
It's like a frozen planet, this, isn't it?
Yeah, this is taking a really weird turn this week.
Are you 2 rooming together, or have you infiltrated someone's room?
We have infiltrated.
Yeah, infiltrated.
We have indeed.
Do you share when you're away, or do you have individual rooms?
Scoomy's got his own room, definitely. Demands
We're sharing. I'm not as big dog as John Barclay when I played for Edinburgh. So
Scooey, I went on Google before this. I thought I'll find out many interesting facts about you. And the first thing that came up was your net worth. Apparently it's £5 million.
Rand.
Rand, maybe.
Oh, Rand.
No, it says dollars. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get back on track. 33-31 at the weekend. Talk us through a game. Hell of a game at the weekend.
Yeah, I'll just be honest. You mentioned man of the moment, Darcy. I know he's a humble guy, but the first 2 games he's been absolutely brilliant, and he showed again against the Bulls. I think if it wasn't for his chase, that momentum shift wouldn't have gone our way. I think we put ourselves in the situation to win the match as well. We had a few points on the board kicking wise, and also we no excuses, but we did lose Blair the night before. Yaku 10 minutes in. I mean, that's the 2 generals of the team. And against the Bulls' altitude at Loftus, you need a good general. But I must say, Savella stepped up. And, mate, to lose 2 points, you could have easily, beat the Bulls in Loftus. And credit to them, the physicality and the tempo which they play at. It's not easy to go there and even, draw, lose by 2 points, or get the near win.
Just on that, Scoot, you touched on it. I'm just interested. I've never played at altitude. Obviously, you used to play there. I just want to hear your sort of differing views on how it was. Are you still acclimatized to that, having played there before, or is it still horrendous going there?
It's a funny one.
Memory.
You know the feeling. You know the feeling of it. It's like a fitness test. So you know it's coming, and then I think it's mentally up to you to get the chat up, get the buzz up. The energy and positivity is contagious. But I could tell with the Fijians in our squad as well, and the South African-born players. Being in Edinburgh for 4 years now, you're almost just as the Edinburgh lads as well, reacting to it. So, you have to go through the phases. It's like I said, it's like a fitness test. It's just the way you're going to handle it.
Lads, you've both been around the club for a long time, and obviously come over and played there a few times myself. But there seems to be a different atmosphere about the club. There really does. Is that the stadium? Is it the new coaching staff? I know Shanks might want to ask you a question about Richard Cocker over the last couple of years, but why has the mood changed? Because it just seems to be all positivity. Is that from the head man down, or is it just because you're playing better rugby, more attractive rugby? What specifically can you put your finger on that is making us all stand up and listen and watch Edinburgh rugby at the minute?
Yeah, I think it does start from the top and works its way down. I think Mike's came in and brought a huge positive attitude into the club, and he's gave us a free license to play from anywhere, and that's really showing, especially last season and the start of this season. A lot of the backs are getting their hands on ball, myself included, and we're getting ball and we're playing some really good rugby. So the club, it's like a totally different new club now, and I think boys love coming in and pulling on the Gunners' top.
You've got John Barclay to thank, because that's his biggest claim to fame, is that he got rid of Richard Cockrell, and he won't stop. He will not stop until Cockrell's out of England as well. Like, that's all he talks about. That's like on his CV, that's on his Wikipedia page. Darcy, what about one of the tries you scored at the weekend? Chasing the ball, comes off the post. I used to have to do that. Believe it or not, I used to play, and you probably heard about me. But it's horrible, isn't it, chasing it? Because 9 times out of 10, it goes through or it misses, and then you've got to run all the way back to get into position.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. It's nice when it comes off. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Definitely, it was so weird because when Benzo was setting up the kick, I was like, I had this funny instinct that it was going to come off the post, so I ended up pushing Hamish out, and then I just went after it, and it came off the post, and got a lucky bounce towards myself, and you create your own luck sometimes. So I just wee things like that come off, and it's total worth your effort chasing that ball.
He's got a hat trick as well. He's got plenty of tries these first 2 rounds. Must be feeling pretty confident now.
Yeah.
Any kicks at goal? Fill in at 10. Go at 9.
No, confidence is high. I'm really enjoying playing. It's just all the good work the boys are doing inside me, and I'm just getting the reward. So credit is due to all the boys inside. Let the big man going putting his body on the lines, and I am taking a bit of the credit.
Who are the talkers like inside you then? Who's calling the moves? Who's calling the plays, the patterns? Do you have a say in that? Would you walk up to the 10 and say, look, I think we should run this move? Or
so especially on field, especially last season, like everybody's got input now, which we never had, and anybody can step up. It doesn't matter if you're a senior player or just a young academy boys. You've got a voice now, and you've got your opinion. So on the pitch, anybody can call something and just back. If you see a space, just go for it. So it's just trusting the ability going the boys playing.
Is that the new look as well?
I watched Top Gun.
Moustache. You've got to keep it now. You've got to keep it because you're scoring so many tries.
Well, it's as quick as a jet, so we can see that.
Pierre, we're now Instagram buddies, me and you, from a couple of years ago. But I'm just intrigued. Is it you that actually controls your own Instagram, or is it your wife, or do you pay somebody to do it for you?
Mate, first of all, it's coming from you as a Mike Blair on steroids. It's really amazing.
Yes, yeah.
And then secondly, cheers for Ryan Wilson for sending the question through you. I'll see him hopefully against Glasgow. I know he's on the show sometimes as well. But no, I do my own Instagram, and to keep the missus happy, have to lift a few Oscar now and then. On slow-mo with some seagulls or crows flying about.
Well, I enjoy the content. It's very entertaining. So keep it up anyway, and best of luck for the rest of the season, boys.
What's on? You're on tour obviously now. Just quickly, a couple more questions. What's a lot of the teams have spoken about going on tour, and you treat this kind of old school and get to go away from the rugby and do a bit. Have you guys managed to do much? I know today was your day off. Is that right?
Yeah, John. A few boys went up Table Mountain, which is some of the boys like Sam Skinner. It's his first time in South Africa, playing all the caps for Scotland as well as for Exeter. So some of the boys, like him as example, it's the first time they see Cape Town. The abundance of beautiful beaches as well. Having a nice steak or maybe seafood after tough day training. That's a nice one as well. I did want to organise genuine cage diving for the boys today, but I asked the people a serious question, will we be guaranteed this? Because these guys are from Edinburgh, they want to have the real experience. They don't want to see basking sharks or stingrays flying about the cage. But unfortunately, like I said, the orcas is chasing them away, which is no.
Do you have any? I don't know why I find that so funny. It's just great knowledge. Do you have like an entertainment committee? The boys like sorting stuff out. Is there like table tennis? Have you got Xbox, PlayStation, all that sort of stuff around the hotel?
Yeah, I think Hamish Watson dusted off a few boys in FIFA, and they had to post it online as well. He's done some damage. There's some nice. We do watch series together as well. There's a committee for that. There's nice card games. We've got some cricket now and then going as well, just like other teams, which is really fun. And I think the big culture is the coffee. It's nice coffee with some good crack on the way back and to the coffee.
And Flappy golf on the bus. That's getting
Flappy golf's back, is it?
It's back.
What's
it's
that?
serious, but 2 leagues going now. So.
Flappy golf. You got to download it. How would you describe Flappy golf?
Oh, it's a game. I thought it was like.
No. It's a game on your phone. It's like Angry Birds.
Oh, okay.
Kind of lemmings. Yeah, it's bizarre. Anyway, last one for me, lads. Obviously, Stormers this weekend. Revenge match, grudge match. I'm sure you won't say as much, but big test for you guys to see how far you've come from last year. We've been really impressed with the first couple of games, certainly, but it's a long season. So, what's your views going forward?
Yeah, I think we're going there to put our best foot forward. I think we've got a bit a revenge, kind of like you said. We're going there to win. We're taking that confidence from last weekend, and I think we should hugely believe that we can win here. We have won in South Africa last season as well, so we need to go there and believe that we can win and do the job.
Well, I'll be cheering for you, and thanks for coming on, lads. It's been nice to have 3 Scots and keep Shanks quiet for a show. I'll let you get back to your table tennis and flappy golf. We'll see you boys. We watch this weekend, and we'll catch up with you later on in the season. Cheers, lads.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Cheers.
Right. Nice one, boys. Oh, I'd love to be on tour. I miss that. That's what I miss about rugby, is touring.
They look happy, don't they? And I actually, as I was talking, we may as well go back on the show.
They should be happy.
The Orcas are going for the killer. The Orcas are going for the Great White Sharks livers, and they lead the rest of them.
Really?
Yeah. So on Twitter.
Sounds a bit like Jeffrey Dahmer. Been watching that on Netflix.
Oh, gee, that's pretty dark. You see that everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, lads. Now that they're away, but any thoughts on the game that we didn't cover? I think Edinburgh they've improved again this year. I think going there at altitude against the Bulls and not being like physically dominated was maybe one of the concerns. But they look like they've upped their physicality. The new signings look good. Good to see Jamie Ritchie back playing really well. Bill Matters back throwing stupid offloads.
That was a brilliant pass to get it out wide to Darcy Graham. I mean, you cannot be disappointed because they had a really good start to the season. Hammered the Dragons. They could have won that game with a kick at the end. There's plenty of distance on the kick, but just went wide. And I'm hoping this is like the new rugby now, because I think we went through a period a few years ago where games were tight. There weren't many tries scored. Defenses were on top. And in the URC, the first 2 weeks, and in sort of other leagues as well, it looks like you're getting big scores. And part of that, I think, is down to the weather. The conditions are good, dry ball, good on foot. But I think part of it is just down to attacks dominating, because that's what you want. You don't want defenses dominating games because you aren't going to get many tries. But when attack dominates and attack is better than defense, then you're going to get really high scoring games, entertaining games, which is exactly what we want. So I think Edinburgh, the last couple of games they've scored 70 something points. I think they're in a great position, even though they lost at the weekend.
It's funny, lads. I'm sort of sorry, John. I'm sort of getting behind them just because of the style of rugby that they're playing. And there's a lot of other people out there as well doing exactly the same thing, and that's what you want. It's all well and good going out there and saying, "Oh, we just want to win." Each game. It doesn't matter if it's by 1 point or 20 points. You got to entertain. It's an entertainment business. And
I was obviously a Cardiff legend for years. Yeah, I was a Cardiff legend for years and years. Like I'm on the walls and Paytons and everything. But the team I would want to watch most in Wales is the Scarlets, and they've drawn one, lost one. But the way they play is so entertaining. And that's what I want to be. I want to be entertained when I watch it.
Well, that's it. We'll go on to that one then, Shanks. Obviously, that you talk about the cricket. It's almost a cricket score. You see 33-31, Edinburgh versus the Bulls, and 39-55. I watched that game just non-stop. I mean, both defenses are,
Class.
there'll be some pretty horrific reviews, but it's one of those things that I look at certain teams and the way they're playing the game, and he's playing it at tempo on the gain line, playing really flat. It's really hard for defenses to recover. I do think Scarlet's defense has that ability to leak tries. I think Ulster would be pretty furious leaking 39. I think they would consider themselves a step above. But again, watching the clips, watching the physicality, the same guys stepping up, playing well. Scarlet's managed to come back in the game. I thought it was a cracking game.
They got themselves right back in it. I mean, Steve, you'll probably give us a better view of the game, but they got themselves back into it to 39-45 with a penalty from Reece Patchell, who was back on. And then all of a sudden, the Scarlets throw the ball on the floor with like 7 minutes to go. Ulster turn it over. Fafita deliberately knocks it on. It was deemed to. He went for the intercept, but if you don't catch them and they touch your fingers, it's going to be a penalty. It's going to be a yellow card. Yeah, it goes off. They had the same the week before, where they were in a commanding position this time. They were chasing the game in this one. But my point being that Ulster were under pressure then. Cooney kicks the ball out, I think, twice on the full. He misses a kick in that he should have got. And I think, Stevie, you said that someone might have put him off in the crowd. But Ulster were under pressure. And I think that's the area the Scarlets need to improve, is that last 10 minutes of just being ruthless. They weren't ruthless against the Ospreys. They give a penalty away the week before on the Ospreys line, end up having a try scored against them. They were there. I think Ulster were there for the taking in the last 5 minutes, and
I don't think they were.
Scarlets couldn't do it. I think they were. After that penalty, they were.
Not like there was never the feeling in the ground was that for me that Ulster always had another gear. Like through the whole 80 minutes, Scarlets had that 2-minute window where they might have had a chance, but I would have felt if Scarlets had scored there, Ulster would have come straight back up the pitch and scored. The Ulster speed of ball was ridiculous. It was John Cooney after the game was saying how fast it was one of the fastest games he's ever played in, because the speed of the ball was off the charts. Like John Barclay would have, slotted in well into the Scarlets back row. Like Calmafoni's a brilliant ball carrier. McLeod, Thompson, all half-decent players, but they didn't have anybody there to slow the ball down. And John Cooney, a nice pick over. There's a bit of controversy over this try because it wasn't given initially. Then he flicks himself over and he just dots it down there. But the Scarlets lads are sleeping. They think that the game's stopped, but you got to play to the whistle. John Cooney, 30-point haul, 2 tries, 1 miss off the tee. Apart from that kick out in the full, he was pretty good. Mikey Larry, I've just seen it on social media, 143-meter running meters. Like Stuart McCloskey, another really strong game in the centre, absolutely steamrolled Davis. So, I think Ulster in a really good position. And Scarlets, yes, they're a good team to watch, but you can't concede 55 points at home and expect to win a match.
Yeah, I just think I kind of see what you're saying, Shanks. It was swaying maybe towards the Scarlets, but if I was Ulster and they came back, I would have just said, keep the ball and we'll score here. And that's teams that got the ball against Scarlets. And I think for me, having played with Dan Parks, when you see players going for intercepts, and you got a second row last week and a second row this week and number 8 last week going for intercepts, it doesn't give me a huge amount of confidence in their defense. Like that's when you're going for gambles. Your system's not great. You're not slowing the ball down enough, like you say, Fez, to actually put pressure on the ball and actually get set and go forward. And I think they just look like they're a team that you wouldn't be surprised to see them ship 55 points again a couple of times this year.
What about Jack Morgan leaving the Scarlets? Because he's brilliant at the turnover, and he left the Scarlets because of James Davis, because of a lot of other players there, McLeod. And now James Davis had to retire. They missed someone like that who's just great.
I think Josh McLeod is that player. I just think defensively they're just not.
Yeah, but stopping quick ball.
Yeah, they don't stop a quick ball, and then you can have the best guy in the world on the floor, but it's just their mindset. You can see, scoring 39 points, they've got a great attacking mindset, and that was probably what I saw when I came to Scarlets originally. It's like, oh yeah, we're scoring 39. Doesn't really matter what's on the other side of the scoreboard. And I'm not trying to be too flippant about it, but I think it looks like that. They just look a bit disorganized. They don't look as hungry without the ball as they do with it. And
no, I agree.
It could be a long season because they look awesome with the ball. Like, and the signings, Fafita looks class. They look more physical, but teams are like walking over tries there. Like, you know, one out runner is 5 meters out, and you're running over the top of, you know, smaller men running over bigger men. It's not alarm bells, but there's some improvements we made there.
A good atmosphere, lads. Really good. It's been a long time since I've been at the Parky Scarlets. Wasn't a huge crowd, but anybody who's going to get down to the Scarlets and watch a game, I'd highly recommend going. It was a brilliant atmosphere, and I look forward to heading back down there at some stage.
We'll move on then to the game that we covered.
Yeah, what do you think of that, John?
Glasgow.
Give us your thoughts.
Glasgow Warriors 52, Cardiff 52-24. Sorry. Didn't see it coming. I actually backed Cardiff in the week and then saw that Falta wasn't playing, changed my mind to Glasgow. Glasgow, and also I was in Glasgow, so I had to be polite. I can't believe how much better Glasgow were. Like, I mean, they couldn't have been worse, really. But like, first time they had the ball, Shanks, when they just route one, direct, fit everything they weren't last week, they were this week played. And on the flip side, it was the opposite for Cardiff, wasn't it? Just they started well, and then I don't know. They got Simbin against them. Glasgow scored 21 points in 10 minutes, one straight from the kickoff, which was a killer. But yeah,
that was a great try. That was one of the tries of the season.
Big time.
It was so positive. But Tuipulotu, I thought, was brilliant in attack. The pace he gave in that back line was huge. And it wasn't just like running sideways. It was the way he straightened the line as well. This is where the yellow card to Thomas Young comes in. And then Glasgow score 3 tries, I think, off the back of it. And it's always going to be difficult when you're down a player, especially up front. But they just had the edge all the way through that game, even though Cardiff started pretty positively. Like Jack Dempsey grew into the game, was brilliant that second half. Richie Gray, some of the angles he hit. This is the try they score, straight from the kickoff. Pretty simple play, nothing much, but the pace, look at Tuipulotu go there, pulling away. And then it's just, that's a great ball. That is blind pass. You know he's going to be there, but you can't see him. And you just put the ball in the air.
So it's easy, Shanks, but like basic skills, like everyone's running straight. You know, if you go into the real, everyone's running straight. That's what Tuipulotu is so good, because he's so physical. He runs good lines. He makes defenders bite on him. I would say that Cardiff probably are looking to bite on defenders, but again, I talked about Scarlets before. This is where I think Cardiff are probably in that same boat. You know, it's pretty easy. You know, structurally, if you've got a 9 defending first off the ruck, something's not quite right in your shape. And I get that can happen sometimes, but yeah.
George Horn was good as well. You know, he gave some real pace to that Glasgow attack. And I think he gave him man of the match.
What do you think about the yellow card? What do you think about the yellow card for Tom Jordan?
I can only see red. I've watched it a couple of times. There's no dip in height. Josh Adams isn't falling into the tackle. He's upright. Tom Jordan's upright. Connections made with the head. I still think it's
it's this angle here, isn't it?
A red card. Yeah.
Stevie?
Yeah, I agree with Shanks for once. Definitely a red card for me. It's just like, regardless of this decision, it's so funny. Like, Glasgow got their pants pulled down last week against Benetton. And then, they just come back to Glasgow and they completely flip it on its head. They look like a really well-organized team full of confidence, where, like, I was a bit like you, John. I was going, flipping heck, if Cardiff pitch up here, they could maybe turn them over, just because they're, have got no confidence. They looked absolutely flogged after a tough pre-season. So, fair play to Franco Smith for getting the boys and rallying his troops, because they certainly needed that win.
That yellow card, so Glasgow down to 14 men, and it's something like, whatever it is, 21-7 at the time, and Cardiff take the 3 points. I think that was a turn. That was a bit of a turning point for me. You're down to 40 men. You go for the corner. I know it's not a forward, but there's going to be space somewhere with that 14 men. They should have gone for the corner, I thought. They took the 3 points. And as it happens then, Glasgow, after the kickoff, get the ball back and score a try. So you're thinking, if you're down by that much and the team is down by 40 men, you've got to go for a try. You're not trying to claw you. You've got to make use of that one-man advantage. And, by the time half-time came, it was 28-10. And that's a game gone, really.
Yeah. We spoke about it on air, and I think...
Yeah,
when Cardiff were a man up, they chose to take 3 points. And later in the game, when the circumstances had changed, Glasgow are a man down, and they go for a scrum. Just a bit of a different mindset. I think you said on air as well. They should have come with a fully loaded team. Missed opportunity to not, back up wins, play your best team, rest. I get you've got to rest Faletau and the other guys, but he would have made a difference. I think.
He would. It's momentum. It's confidence. It's everything. You go on, you read the papers and you look on social media and fans are saying, we're back to the old Cardiff. You don't want that. For morale, you want to put in a good performance and wipe last season clear. And I think that's why I would have played Faletau for this game, just to build momentum, especially at the start of the season. He had one awesome game against Munster. Play him again. He's in form. He was that good last week. He's going to deliver again. But now, after a hammering like that, I just hope it hasn't had like a psychological effect on him. And
they got the line this week, haven't they? So
they're back to square one, basically, with confidence. They're back to zero again, because getting 50 points on you is harsh.
Rory Darcy. Sorry, man, you go.
Yeah, go on. I was going to say Rory Darcy.
They look like...
you can't say you go and then keep talking.
But then you said you go. You go. I'm sorry.
I didn't. I'm not having you in my platoon. Rory Darcy injury, John. Didn't look good. We were there. He was very cool about it, mind, for something that looked so serious.
Yeah, horrendous.
I wouldn't be like that.
No, I certainly wouldn't be. I don't know what to say. Just horrendous. He's had a bit of bad luck. He's one of their best players. He'll be out for the season. It's probably something to dive into, the powers that be. I think there's quite a bit of noise right now around. They've ruled out neck rolls, but you still get croc rolls. You're getting the same effect. You're not twisting the head, but you are twisting the body and opening people up to these types of injuries. So, I don't know. I can see end of the year. I think certainly going towards a World Cup, I wouldn't be surprised if all roles are removed from the game.
I think so, mate.
Moving on then. Who saw this happening? Anyone? Dragons, 23. Munster,
well,
17.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. Shanks, you done an incredible job on commentary, because it was a game that.
Hold on. I know what you like, and you'd never give me a compliment, which makes you think I've done a really bad job. You're just trying to make up for it.
Absolutely not. I'm telling you now. For some reason, was it a good atmosphere? Was there because it was tight? Like the fans really got behind the drag. I know it wasn't a huge crowd either, but it seemed like it got a bit feisty, and you guys on the
second half
certainly picked it up, and I watched the full game just because it was tight and it was tense, and the Dragons looked like they were going to get their first home win in a couple of seasons. So well done, mate. Top job.
Yeah, it was really good atmosphere towards the end, especially when the Dragons sort of had a sniff of winning. It was quite a strange game because Munster give 5 penalties away in their own half, and JJ Hanrahan kicks them all. But this was the highlight of the game. It was brilliant play. Just what you should do, where the space is, 2 passes, and then this guy can run, boys. He goes through Peter O'Mahony and Fekitoa, and he's absolutely gone. And as soon as he gets through that, all I'm thinking is just pin your ears back. Have confidence, go for it. And Mike Haley doesn't get anywhere near him. He's going at full pelt, doesn't even touch him. And my only problem with the Dragons is they've got him on one wing, they've got Ashton Hewitt on the other wing, who's also just as good and can score tries like that. Yet they never give him any early ball. They never give him space in front. They need to play to their strengths, which I think is the centres. The wingers. I tell you who was impressive defensively was Tompkins in the centre.
Yeah, you were tweeting about him, weren't you?
Made some brilliant reads. Yeah, really good defensively, like shutting Munster down completely. I was actually quite surprised with the amount of mistakes Munster made. Drop passes, passes behind, losing the ball in the tackle. Weren't very organised. Did score a couple of nice tries end of the first half, which brought them back into it. And I sort of thought, hold on, they've had 5 minutes of rugby and they scored 2 tries and they looked good then. But after that, it was all the Dragons, everything. And the crowd got on top of them. Pierre Schoeman started to get agitated, started pushing and shoving, speaking a lot.
Yeah, Stevie, you're obviously a bit closer to the game over there. What's because obviously they were pretty disappointed last year, and there's always been not always, I say for the last couple of years, there's been an element of frustration with Van Graan and now Roundtree, and they've lost the first 2 games of the year. What's the fans saying over there? What's the kind of outpour of after this?
Well, up here in Ulster, they're absolutely loving it. Like, because Munster over the last couple of seasons, they never go away to the Dragons and get beaten. And like the Dragons were good. Like I thought the Dragons' line speed was good. Get up, just were physical, shut down the options. But like Ben Healy really struggles to get that Munster attack going. Fekitoa hasn't got himself into either game against Cardiff last week or this one against the Dragons. Their pack didn't take dominance like I thought it would. And when new coaches come in, you go, oh yeah, it's a settling in period. Give them a bit of time. It's only 2 games into the season, but he's been there for a long time, and I know Dennis Leamy's now involved. Prendergast come over from France, so there's a bit of shuffling around. Like I don't think write Munster off. They do have RG Snyman to come back. That this young guy Antoine Frisch, who's away with Emerge in Ireland, get a couple of the other Irish boys back to full pace. They will cause a few teams problems, but 0 from 2, second bottom in the table. Confidence must be really low, and the lads will be sitting looking at each other. And Simon Zebo, Shanks, when you were on commentary, and like he just got rounded on the outside on the halfway line and completely burnt, and I was just sitting there going, wow, like. Yeah, it was maybe 7 or 8 years ago we're used to seeing Simon Zebo doing that. They just looked off the pace, and yeah, from an Irish perspective, it's not good seeing Connacht rock bottom and obviously Munster just above them.
Angus O'Brien was good. Bradley Roberts, I think, is a really good signing for the Dragons. He could run, ball in hand. He looks really powerful. Will Rowlands was good. Tame Basham was good. So there was a couple of big performances. And sometimes you get that when you lose a coach. And something happens at the club, a big change like that, you get a reaction, don't you?
Well, what do you know? Nothing's been announced yet.
No, we'll save that for rant of the week, shall we?
Yeah, we'll move on then, given that. Stormers, Connacht, Stevie.
Quality.
Yeah.
Oh, some of the rugby played in this game, man. What was the stadium, guys? It wasn't there.
Don't know. I was going to say it.
Yeah,
that's where I want to play my rugby. If I played rugby, I'd want to play at that stadium. It looked amazing.
Yeah. The Connacht, like we'll get into it with the Bundyaki red card, but it's a tough start. Jeez, a really tough start with Ulster away in their first game, and then having to go on the South Africa trip. Then they've got Munster in a couple of weeks' time, and really tough on them. But some of the tries that the Stormers, just Evan Ruas, what a try from him. Maybe one of the tries of the season as well that we're going to see. It's the offloading ability, always having options. Look at that, coming onto the ball at pace.
Look at this,
he looks like look at that. Mac Hansen starting for Ireland in the Six Nations, absolutely no chance. And he loves it. What about this for a try, Shanks?
Yeah,
this is silly, isn't it?
This offload there.
Yeah,
it's the second row for Connacht. It's if we see it from the other camera angle, we'll not see it from the other camera angle. And he's like, whoa, oh, try. He didn't know where it was going at all. And obviously Connacht now with the Bundyaki situation, John, they seem to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that now. Initial thoughts? It's come out, hasn't it? John Dobson's come out and said that Sinatla, not that you judge the severity of something by the outcome to the player, but
You've got to stay on your feet. You've got to stay on your feet. Like the way to clear that ruck out, he's got to slow himself down a little bit. I know it's difficult because you need to enter rucks at speed sometimes to move people, but he's got to get underneath him and keep his feet. You cannot dive into a ruck. He's essentially dived into a ruck with his shoulder on someone's head. So, and he can look. He's obviously not happy with it, but you can't do it.
No, you can't.
It's illegal. It's dangerous.
Yeah, red card for me, John. You probably agree, but like that's so dangerous. Sinatla's out now for a period of time. Connacht coaching staff come out afterwards, sort of to diffuse the Bundyaki situation with the verbals back to the referee to say, look, it was a red card. We're not disputing that whatsoever, which I thought was a really genuine thing to say from the Connacht coaching staff. And like the game of rugby is all about respect and setting a good example, being a role model. Like Bundyaki has been definitely that for Ireland. I know he's got a couple of red cards, but that's just the physical way he plays the game. But on that occasion, he was wrong. He definitely was, and hopefully he'll come back and bounce back after that. But yeah, Connacht are in a world of trouble.
He's Peter O'Mahony's minder, isn't he? When they go away.
The chicken nugget police, wasn't it?
Chicken nugget police, that's right.
We'll move on, lads. I want to talk about that in the rant anyway. Ospreys, again, a winless season start, 27-28 to the Lions. Shanks?
Yeah, the Lions never went away. That was the problem. Every time the Ospreys scored, the Lions came back. They couldn't get far enough in front of them. Some nice tries in the game. Keelan Giles looked pretty sharp. Some really good hands for his try. Hopefully we're going to see him now. Good hands there. I think it's from Adam Beard and takes his overlap really well. This is really nice play. Hole opens up. Walsh does well. And then the angle is brilliant. Just splits the 15 and the winger. But I think it was the Ospreys. They gifted the Lions a try on the 48-minute mark with 14. Lions had 14 men and they scored. This is obviously Keelan Giles' second try, but they had a scrum and the ball just pops out and the Lions score. It was the most bizarre try. It's the easiest try he'll ever score. It just pops out the scrum. Reece Webb doesn't know what to do. Lions pick it up and they're under 14 men on the field as well. So you can't do that. And then 70-minute mark, when the try was scored, Max Nagy, who goes off injured, eventually puts a kick up, goes down injured. So the Ospreys are down a man. And then eventually Van der Merwe scores after a lovely pass by JP Smith. But that's where the mismatch was. Nagy was out. He was down. If he'd been fit, he'd have got back in a position and probably would have stopped that try. But the worst thing was as well, and I won't say this for rant of the week, is they allowed the Lions to go into the post to score that try. Killer. Yeah, it is. And they lost by a point. You don't let teams score into the post. You got to stop it. If they're going to score out wide, if they've got to score out wide. Don't let them run free under the post. And obviously they get the kick and win by a point. So you'd be very disappointed if you're an Ospreys fan.
Yeah, not looking great for the Welsh regions so far. Shanks, you put any of them, we had our early season predictions. Would you put any of them, you change your mind on any of it? And obviously we were quite excited about Cardiff. Scarlets look like they're showing glimpses of some good stuff, some defensive frailties. Any initial thoughts on the Welsh side? Or?
Yeah, I'm putting all my eggs into the Dragons basket now.
Oh, I love it.
They're back.
The Dean Ryan basket.
The Dragons are back. They gave the best account of themselves.
That's all you can ask.
On the weekend. It's all you can ask. So
all you can ask.
Well, Dragons to finish top 4. No, look, I'd be happy if we had 2 teams in the top 8 after last season. Okay.
Yeah. That'd be a good return. Well, I think we'll get on to rants of the week, but quickly, Leinster obviously beating Benetton, the Sharks beating Zebra, but I feel like we've been gearing towards the rants section. I couple of times. We steered off it, so we'll get on to it. And we'll start with you, Shanks.
I think we've all got a bit of a rant about probably the same thing, about information that's coming out of a certain club at the moment, or lack of it. My rant would be with Big Jim Hamilton. He was meant to do a minute interview with Jack Dempsey, and I was doing a minute interview. Who was I doing it with? Josh Turnbull. And seriously, John, you were there, Fez, he asked about 7 questions to Jack Dempsey. And it was about 3.5 minutes. One of the floor managers behind kept going like this, like wind it up.
He didn't know what it is, mate. He
didn't know what it meant. So I had 30 seconds basically to ask Josh Turnbull a question. It was appalling behaviour. He just one more question. He kept going. But there we are. Jim, he's a mic hog, isn't he?
Mic hog, question hog.
Yeah.
Fez,
what about you?
Yeah, it's just the lack of. I think it's a bit of a lack of respect, like from Dean Ryan, in terms of he throws his team under the bus one week, and then I don't know if he's been told not to go to training, or he just hasn't pitched up, or what the story is. We all know he's a very close affiliation over the years with the Dragons. And for your head coach not to kind of release a statement of what actually is going on or address the media, it just seems unprofessional. Like, and if somebody tells you not to do it, I would probably still do it because I know I was getting the sack anyway, so it wouldn't really matter. And yeah, I think it's left a sour taste in a lot of the Dragon fans' mouths because, over the last year, there's been so much hype, been said by him of, the good things that the Dragons are doing, and then the first game of the season, he throws his team under the bus, and I totally agree with Shanks. I think there was a reaction. I think there was, 2 fingers stuck up to him by a lot of the players who, were supposed to be good players, and fair play to them for doing that. So that's my rant of the week. That's not enough information from the Dragons' former or his head coach, who knows, Dean Ryan, to address the situation. If he's still a head coach, I'd be very surprised. I don't know, what do you think, John?
Yeah, strange, isn't it? It's funny when you show up at a game and the media is talking about it. Yeah, there's kind of stories about it, but kind of not. There's been no secret. There's not been a particularly happy camp. The words coming out, so it's just strange, isn't it? I think you owe the club and the club owes people that support the game a bit more. I think there's a bit of a disconnect between the fans and the clubs in Wales, and this kind of stuff doesn't help. Like you say, probably a lack of respect. Whether there's legalities involved, I don't know what those legalities might look like, but pretty rank situation. But thankfully, Dragons won. You imagine you get beat heavily, and then this is going on in the background, but it looked like it galvanized them a bit potentially. But yeah, a bit bizarre. The only other rant I had was, and we kind of touched on it, was just the Bundy Aki reaction, I suppose. I've met, played against Bundy, super competitor, lovely guy, but just got it wrong on the day, big time. You can't behave like that. Go on, Shanks.
What about this, lads? What's your thoughts when you travel to an away fixture on a plane and you've got to get the same plane as the team? Is there anything worse? Is there anything worse? I had it both ways with Cardiff. They were on the same flight as me. And it's just, you just want to find a corner. Like, everyone's walking past you when you're on the plane, because obviously I've got speedy boarding, it's me. You're like this, like 30 odd people.
I used to get so when the boys chartered like 4 or 5 years ago, the Ulster team, I would have jumped on there. So let's say they were on a European Cup run to Exeter, then I would obviously still know some of the staff in there and would say I couldn't get home from Exeter until the next day, but I knew the charter was going straight after the game. I would email the girl in the office and be like, "Is there
Oh,
any room in
lovely.
the charter to get me home?" But like that wasn't too bad because I still knew a dozen of the players, and we still chit chat from now and then. Where we're now, was it really awkward, Shanks? Was it?
No, it wasn't awkward, but it was just like, they lost heavily, and obviously you're not going to say how well they did at the weekend. And we were a little
Well
bit
done, boys.
critical of selection and the way they played. So it's just like, I was in Glasgow Airport, and I made a choice of, right, I think my flight's going to go out of like gates 1 to 9. So I just went down there and waited on my own.
No chat with the coaches, nothing.
No, I didn't want to, mate. I didn't want to. Like, it's not nice for them either, is it? Like,
Safer bet. Right, we'll move on before we endear ourselves any less to the coaches. Presenter's choice. Ooh, very serious. Very serious this week. Favorite sport outside rugby? Soccer World Cup winners. Don't care. Who's the rugby GOAT? I know what you're going to say to the top one. You're both going to say golf.
Obviously.
Right. No?
Yeah, no. What else is there? Golf is the only thing.
Well, I kind of agree.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
Soccer, no, I don't care. Who's the rugby GOAT then? Very serious. Who's the best player to have ever played the game? Or most iconic? I guess, does that come into it as well?
Lomu, Jonah, do you think?
Yeah. Were you at Cardiff when he was there?
Yeah.
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 He was there for what, 6 months or something?
Yeah. For like the crowd that turned up to watch him play was but like there was people sort of trying to get in, like it was like the 70s, people trying to break in and watch it from every angle available. Like all the flats behind the stadium.
Yeah.
Like they were full. We had security all the way around the pitch to stop people running on. Honestly, it was probably the biggest crowd they've ever had. I know some people say there's a sellout and but then you see like there's like 10 seats spare. Every seat was taken. He was brilliant for the club, brilliant for the youngsters, a real humble guy. But it would be different for different people, wouldn't it? A lot of people might say someone like Sir Gareth Edwards. Others might say Willie John McBride. But for me, I think the rugby GOAT for what he did for rugby is Jonah.
Stevie?
Yeah.
I remember watching Jonah. You remember maybe playing in that game, Shanks? Was it Calvisano away? Did you play in that game? In the Challenge Cup? Yeah, and he scored a couple of tries, and everybody thought he was back. Like, he's going to have another couple of seasons. He's going to light it up again. But we all know that, unfortunately, things took a different turn. But, like, I tuned in as a kid just to watch Jonah Lomu, and I played the computer game, the first rugby computer game. He was just iconic. So, yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. Maybe who I played against or played with. Richie McCaw, just for what he achieved in the game. What a competitor, what an unbelievable player. Genuine good bloke too. So, yeah, Richie McCaw, fellow back rower, of course.
JB?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Richie McCaw, just because they beat us by 60 points every time anyway, but I can't actually explain how hard he was to play against. Just like, I always say, like, you've got brothers, younger brother, older brothers, you're just so pissed off with your brother, and you used to wrestle and fight and reach that kind of level of rage. And it was kind of, when you played against him, you just had the whole game, and he just outfoxed you, outsmarted you, ridiculously physical, like, has to be one of the toughest players to ever have played the game, given the era he played and the amount of, cheap shots he would have taken. But yeah, he was, and like Steve, like, top guy, did everything in the game. So yeah.
Is he the GOAT for you then? Is he? Is he the rugby GOAT?
I think so. I grew up watching Jonah, and I went to the sevens when he burst on the scene. I lived in Hong Kong, and I remember like the excitement around him in the week, and no one really knew because there was no social media, and he was. Yeah, the stadium there. If you've been to the sevens before, like, you can imagine what it would be like to watch him there at that shape versus the types of other players that were playing then. It was like he was playing against school kids. Honestly, it was like getting the ball and he was scoring like 6 tries a game.
Imagine playing in that. No, thank you. You'd rather have a glass of wine, wouldn't you, on the side watching it?
Amen. Standout games as we can. We'll get some predictions quickly. Standout games, Ulster Leinster. That's a good one.
Oh, this is big. This is the biggest one, I think, of the weekend.
This is the biggest one. It is.
Yeah.
It is biggest one. Ulster flying lads. I know a few lads away with the emerging Ireland. Rob Balakoon, probably the only starter. Maybe, just Rob Balakoon maybe is going to be missing, but young Aaron Sexton played reasonably well on the wing at the weekend. They've got Craig Gilroy. They've a couple of other options as well. So I think this is going to be a belter. Be really interesting to see what happens with this Leinster side. The other thing, boys, just quickly, is the Leinster coaching setup. Lancaster obviously gone. Contepomi, he went at the end of last season. There seems to be a lot of upheaval and moving parts to this Leinster machine at the minute. So, and of course, Leo Cullen only signs 1-year contracts, so his contract's up at the end of the season as well. So, it's an interesting place there at the minute, but they're off a good win against the Benetton boys, and then Ulster at home very rarely lose. If there's one team that can beat them at home this season, I do think it might be Leinster, but I'm going to stick with Ulster. They're flying at the minute, boys.
Yeah, I think I'll go Ulster. I'll go Ulster.
I'm saying Ulster. Yeah. I think. Stormers Edinburgh.
Stormers.
Edinburgh.
Oh yes, Steve. I'm going Edinburgh as well. I like the way Edinburgh playing. Happy camp. The lads were in good form. Ospreys Glasgow. Which Glasgow are we going to see? Ospreys. You're saying Ospreys? Are you?
I'm going. I think. They're too good a team to be poor for. I think. Right. I think you see a reaction from Lions game.
You and Ospreys. I'm going to say Glasgow. I'm going. It could be double header for Glasgow. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. That's what I said. Week one.
Close one. Scarlets. Yeah.
Cardiff Lions. Big game now for them.
Yeah, Cardiff struggling back three at the moment, though. Matthew Morgan, I think, might be out. Josh Adams might be out. They've obviously lost Liam Williams. Owen Lane isn't fit. I'll go Cardiff, though, I think.
Lions for me, I think, sadly.
Yeah.
And then just the other ones. Can Dragons beat Sharks at home?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Oh, again, lots of splits here. Dragons, okay. I'm going to say Sharks. I don't think they've got it in the bag. And then Munster will beat Zebra, no matter how bad they are. And then Bulls Connacht. It looks like it's going to go 0 from 3 for Connacht to start of the year. It has to be, I think.
Horrible start, though, isn't it? You look at that and you think, oh, you poor guys. But there we are. That's rugby.
Ruggers, that's why we love it. I think that's all, lads. I think that's all. I've had a house full of vomiting children all week, so hopefully next week I've not caught it. All three of them spewing everywhere. So on that note, I'm going to go and tie up some vomit. And remember, you can watch.
It's been a great show.
Yeah, it's been a great show. I really enjoyed it. I had the players on. You can see every game on Premier Sports over the weekend. So tune in and we'll see you next week.